Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to deep dive into UiPath automation tool. It's an RPA tool, that is Robotic Process Automation. It automates repetitive and manual tasks. It's also a no-code, low-code alternative to traditional automation tool. Today we are going to see how we can use this tool for test automation. Before further delay, let's switch to our monitor screen. Welcome to today's session. Today we are going to see how you can use UiPath automation tool, and as a prerequisite for this you need to have UiPath Studio installed locally and also install the browser extension. So we are going to use Chrome browser extension for today, and at a high level the steps that you need to follow is create a new project, record the task, edit the workflow, add activities, debug, and then deploy. So we are going to see each and every step in detail shortly. Also, for the tool license, you can use the community license version of this tool. So let's get started now without further delay. So once you launch the tool, you will see in the similar screen as you can see in my screen, but the recent project section might be empty if you are using for the first time, if you're running this tool for the first time. There are few things that you need to be aware of it. Like in the new project, there are different types of project that are available, like template, test automation, library, process, and in the templates there are template list which you can use. So since this is an RPA tool which can be used for test automation, there are some robotic process framework, some predefined templates available also for you. But for today we are going to focus mainly on the test automation part, which you can see here. So for that, let's click on this. So it will ask you to give the project name. So right now, without making any change, I'm going to use the default test automation project 3 and then click on create. So it will load few dependencies and also a quick tutorial. So we'll skip this one for now. So the first screen that you see once you create a brand new project is this, which will have some shortcuts. The Explorer section will show you different files that are available. Like this is testcase.xaml file is the default test case that the tool has created, and there are some different predefined folders and dependencies. So dependencies you can add further as and when required. So we'll shortly see what are different other dependencies that we are going to use today. Then if you see this bar, the second options are different activities that are available. Either you can use from here, or we'll see some other way to use also. Then there is an object repository. So as and when you automate and add scripts, this repository will get updated. You can install object repository from different project over here also. Then some sample snippets and the source control. So as and when we encounter different options, we'll explain at that time. And in the toolbars you can see few things which are important for now. First one is this up arrow, which is the publish option. So once you create your test case, this need to be published. So after you publish, this test case that you created will be available in the test manager. So test manager we are not going to see today because that require license version, and I am right now today using the community edition only, so which has some limitations. Then there will be record, remove unused dependencies, and then there are packages. So different packages are available for some of the other different types of applications. Like if you are using Dynamics 365 application, you can use the package related to it. So now let's get started onto the actual test case. So the test case XML file that is there, I will just double click on it. So we'll add a new test case. So once you click on add new test case, it will give you option to give the name, location, and what type of test case we are trying to create. So by default it gives the test case 1 as a name, because the first test case is created as test case. It is based on BDD framework. So if you use this, it will give you in the form of the BDD framework. And then if you want to use any template, existing template, that you can use. Right now I am not using any template for this first example. Click on next. It will ask you for the source data. Right now I am not selecting any source data, but there are options. You can use either auto generate through autopilot, use file, data sum, data service. You can use auto generated data, or you can use an existing data also. For this example I am keeping it as none. So once you click on create, you can just see the difference based on what was there in earlier. In the test case.xaml file, there was only one block and nothing else. It was empty. In test case 1.xaml, you can see the structure. It's in the BDD structure, given, when, and then. So you can write your automation scripts in the respective blocks. And just to remind you that this is a RPA tool and it's low code no code version, so for automation. So you don't need to write code for it. It's just a drag and drop block system. So I will see how you can do that. So it's very less code and minimal validation scripts that you need to add, and your test case will be ready. Plus, the one key advantage of this tool when compared to the other tools is that it uses computer vision to identify the element. So even if your application is not having a unique identifier like ID or XPath or something, which generally we face challenges in other tools, traditional tools like Selenium. Here, even if that is not there, this automation tool will be able to identify the element using computer vision. So we'll see how that we can do that in this tool. So now we are going to start. So for today, in the first example, I will just remove given, when, then, and we'll just try to create a plain sequence of test cases. So I will delete this sections and keep this one only, and I will rename this one as login. So now first step is to add a browser control. So if you see in this block there is an option over here, plus icon. We need to use this one to click, and you will see this search option over there in top. Here just select and type in the control that you want to use. So we'll be using here the user application browser. This will be used to launch the browser. So since it will also add some dependencies related to the browser, so it may take some time. So now this user application browser block is added. It will have two parts. One is this URL where we need to give the URL, and the other is the do, so the steps that we need to perform. Now just instead of recording, I am not using the recording directly here. So what I will do, I will open the browser and just add a reference to that. So what I will do, So today I am using this source demo website. It's a sample demo website. So this I am using it for the today's demo and today's session. So what I did is I opened this one in parallel, and in this test case what I will do, I will click on indicate target on screen. So I will click here and then just click in this browser, and the tool will take care of it and then add that reference over here. So now this reference screenshot is also added over here. This is not important here, but it will add so that at the later stage you can just view this screenshot and remember. The key thing here is this URL. So the URL, it automatically captures, and this element will have, if you see in the right side, there is a properties list. So we'll discuss a few properties which we are going to use today, but I will not go through in detail all the properties. Here if you see this URL, now this is hard coded, but I don't want this to be hard coded. So what I will do, I will just select this one and right click over here. You will see it asks to create a variable or create in argument and so on. So we'll click on the create variable. So now it will create a variable for this URL, and here I will give the variable name as app URL and then enter. So what it will do, it will create the variable for this one URL, and it will add another data manager section. So this is again one area that you should remember, and the scope for this one is this control, but I want to make it that scope entire test case, and this URL I will give here the default value. Second. So we'll add that URL over here, and so later on if you want, if there is any change in the URL, we are not going to change the script directly, just will update the data manager section here. So for all the other variables, wherever like username, password and all, we'll be going to use this data manager right now. So now this app URL is parameterized, and this will launch the browser. So let me just close this one and save this script. Now on top you see debug and play, debug file, debug, and bottom you see data manager. There is a section for output. This will display the all the outputs. We'll just delete the current one. Then terminal, any error. So all this, just like any other tool, you will find. The important part over here is this data manager, which will have variables, arguments and namespaces, connections. So namespace and connections in today's session we may not cover, but arguments we will be using it. So this is used mainly to pass data from one block to another, and it uses either input parameter or out parameter depending on that. So we may use this in today's session, and this variable which we are going to use. So now let me just launch this one. So I'm just trying to replay this. So it should launch the browser and open this site. So that's it. So for this simple block, it will just launch the browser, and that's it. So right now we have not given any other activities or any steps to perform. So next step will be adding different validations, click events and so on. So for today, what in this session I will be going a simple test, like given I'm on the login page, when I enter a valid username and password and click login button, it should be redirected to the dashboard. So we are going to check this one, that after login we verify that it's successfully logged in, and then we'll try to search for a product and display the results. So the next step is clicking on the login button. So in our case, on the top we see you can see this login option is there, and similarly sign up option is there. So we are today going to use just a login. I have already created a user for myself. So now, so we are not using direct record and then modify. You can use that option also. We are just going step by step, like we just right now launch this browser. Now the next step is to click on this. So what I will do, the next action will be in this section, do section. We'll click this plus icon, and if you see the tooltip, it's showing our add activity. You can click on this and add from here, or there was an activity list we saw here. So from here also you can click and see the different list of activities and add accordingly. So the easiest way is to use from this. So what I will do, next step is clicking of the login. So I will add a click event. You can, before clicking the actual link, you can also add a validation whether that element is present or not. But for today I am not going to use that. I will just use the click option. So again there is another block of for the click, it's get added, and this block will also have the parameters, some properties. So we are going to use few properties when we are trying to extract the element output data, and so rest we will not be using today. We'll keep everything as the default property that is there. So now here we'll go to the screen, like indicate target on screen. We'll use this and then just try to highlight. So if you see, it shows the green indicator, which means it is able to identify without computer vision with the ID customer underscore login underscore link. This, it is using this ID to validate it. But what we are going to see, we add another layer of check and add a anchor element. So that for that it uses computer vision. So if in this case, suppose in this case there is a unique ID, but what if there is no unique ID, then it will automatically recommend using computer vision or image or other semantic. So there are multiple layers of options available to validate this element, identify this element. So for now I will just, in this example I will add the computer vision as a second layer of identification and just add an anchor element as this page title. So this is an anchor element, and underneath this login link is there. So once this anchor element is added, in the bottom in this control you can see there is a validate option. So this will help validate whether my identification is working successfully or not. So you can see the validation score as 100%. So target should be 100%. Sometime if you are seeing 99%, 98% or 90%, then which means it's better to add another layer of identification method and then check again the validation score. So most of the case you should have at least 100% validation score during your scripting time. So once this is 100%, we'll add a click on this confirm. Now this validation is added. For this one I am not adding any verify method. There are different verify method that you can add, but for this, to keep it simple, I have not added anything else. So far now what it will do is it will launch this browser and then click on this logins link. The next step is entering the detail. So if you see, now on clicking on it, it displays this customer login, email address and password. Now we will enter the data over here. So what I will do, so there are multiple ways to automate this one. So right now I am adding a sequence of steps. There can be a scenario where you can add different validations before performing that click event, or after click event the login screen is displayed, we can add a validation whether the variables and labels and text fields are correctly aligned, correctly displayed or not. Any other elements that we want to validate from the screen, you can add all those checks over here. But for this session, for this video, we are not going in detail on that steps. So now we'll proceed to add the value in the email field and the password field. So for that, what we are going to do is we'll click on this again and add an activity. So now here the next activity is adding element data. So you need to find the activity from this list which need to be updated. So here if you see, there is a set text. Now what I will do in this set text, I will just, if you just hover around this, you will get more details. It's like if you see, it shows enter text in a specified UI element, for example a text box. So this element, this activity and this is sufficient for our scenario right now. So now again I will click on this indicate target on screen and highlight the email address text box. So once I click it, it selects this and mark it as green. Green generally means that it is able to identify, but I will add another anchor element, and the anchor element by default the tool suggests email address. So I will go by this anchor element only. You have an option to change the anchor element, but in this case it doesn't require. So I will just keep that and then just validate again. So if you see, my validation score is 100%, so which means this is sufficient to identify the element. So here if you see, the selector label is login, email address, and the target element is an customer email ID. So it is also having a unique identifier. So even without anchor element it is sufficient, but I will be adding the anchor element and as an email address and then validate and then confirm. So once you click confirm, it will just add that here, and in this text box you can add the data. So now again, instead of hard coding, I will just right click and click on create variable, and I will add the variable as email ID. Once I click enter, it will create here as an email ID field, and here I can add the value. So I am using this email ID, and the important thing here again I am just repeating is this scope. So you can limit the scope of this variable to this particular block itself, or to the parent block, or for this entire test case, or either if required based on the scenario you can make it global also. So for our case right now, I will make it just the test scope at the test case level. So now we are done with this email address. Similarly, we're going to add the password. So for this also I will be using set text field. I'm just checking if there is password option also. No, so it is not having. So indicate element on screen. So this is able to identify. So but it should suggest. I'm not sure why it is not suggesting. So I'm trying again. I will click on this. Yeah, so now shows the anchor, and then I will add this the anchor element as the label. So it anchor element as label. So this uses computer vision. Then validate. So the validation score is 100. Now I will confirm this one. So now this is also done. Password, I will create a variable and make it as, click on enter. On enter it will create the variable over here and the data manager, and now I will add this value. So now I have saved this. So far what we have done is entered entered the username, that is the email ID, and the password. Now the next step will be to click on that login button. So if we go to the screen, there is a sign in button. So we'll add this click event for this one. So now again, so there are multiple, in this case, like again going to validate this one, sign in. Now this again doesn't require because it has a unique identifier, but what I will do, I will add as a another layer and sign in another customer login. So and then validate this, which is again now 100%. We'll confirm this one. So this will click, this action, this block will do a click event. I will add one condition here. So only when the element has appeared. Let me just will add separately. So what I will do now, this will do a click. Let me just save and run it again. So far we have launched the browser, clicked on login link, and then entered the data, login ID and password, and then submitted, like clicked on the sign in button. So all this action should perform now automatically. So it's done. So if you on the right side, there is this test explorer. Here you can see this test case has passed. Now we go back to properties. Yeah. So that a few things that we need to see is, so far we have added all click, enter, click, but no validations. So next we'll add a validation that it's successfully logged in. How do we know? So that validation we need to add. So suppose I enter the data, and on login, once it's successfully logged in, it will show me the name and other details. Right now I will just validate for this name that the user is logged in, and it's by default redirecting to the accounts detail over here and shows the username. So we'll add a checkpoint for this one, and then I will perform a sign out log out option also. So let's get started on that. So before adding that validation, let me just show you few additional things, like one is the log message. So so far it's all click click and some actions over here, but all are some or the other action that the system is the tool is performing. So now I will add one log message. So this is this what it will do, it will add a message in the script. So it will not perform any action, it's just like a logging. So if you see the different log levels, so we can, based on the conditions, we can add. So in this case I will add the info message. So I've just added one message as launch a browser. Then over here click login, enter details and submit. So now here I will add another message, and here I will give enter login details. Now this is also, this I will give a trace, so it should show in me in my output source. And then here again another login message, and this will be and this will also be a trace. So this is one way to add some meaningful comments in between, which will give me help you understand what that particular block does. So now let's move to the next step. So the next step is adding a validation that successfully user has successfully logged in. Now if you see all this, I am adding under this block, login block, and in that we have added a user browser control, and that browser control is having do section. So once we launch the browser, we perform all the actions. We can divide it into different blocks, subsequent blocks, and add parameters from one block to another block, but that I will be not showing in this one. I will just continue from here. So now the next step is, if I expand this one, so to keep it simple, I will add another section here which will validate. Now what it will do, it will just get the text. So I will add a get text option and then click on this screen, and will get the text from here. And this I will add as a anchor element as here. We'll click on computer vision and add an anchor element this section, so that it is able to identify. And so validation is now 100, validation score is 100%, so this is good. We'll click. So now this get text is added. Now this get text, after extraction we need to save this value in some variable. So here we'll go to the property section. If you see in the right side, there is a input output section. Here is one text value. So in our case we are using this output value, not the input value. We can in some scenario we can use input value also, but in our case it is an output value. So I will just right click and create variable and set a variable as username, and then enter. So what it will do, it will create a variable with the username, and the scope, I will just add the scope to the test case level. This is our out variable, so I will not give any default value. The value whatever is extracted from the screen will get saved over here. Now I will add another variable which we are expecting, which is the actual username. So I will give existing username and give this as test case 1, and my existing username is pin2 space test. So this I have entered. Now let me save this one and we'll replay it. So before replaying, I will just add, making sure that the system is able to extract the variable, I will add a log message and display it as a trace. So what I will do, I will just click this one. So one thing you note here, so you can use this expand option to open the expression editor, and here you can use a user variable. So I will use not existing username, I will use the username variable. This is the one where the output value is saved. So I will use this variable and then save. So this message should display in my trace log, and just I am saving this and I will just replay this one. So before that, let me log out from this one, otherwise it will not run properly, and close this browser. So I will just now test this script and see if there is any error. So the browser is launched. Now the script will enter the email address. Right now it is showing pre-filled because it's auto saving from the browser. I'm not saying why it is slow. Yeah. So now it completed the step, and if you see in my output, it shows the value which I printed in the log message. So if you go to the output screen, so we printed this one. We also printed sign in before this one as a trace log, and then at the start we have launch of browser. This is as an info level. So if you see the icon here, it's a info. Level of information is information here, info. Similarly for sign in, if I open it, it's a level, information level is trace, and then this also information level is trace message pin2 test. So far what we have covered is that we are able to launch the browser, perform a click action, enter the details, display a trace message, enter detail like enter the email address and password, and then clicked on the sign in button, displayed that as a trace in the trace, extracted a text from the field on the screen and stored it in an output variable. So this output variable is the username, the username over here, and this value I am displaying as a trace to validate. Now since we are all good so far, the next thing that I will add is, we'll add a validation whether this value is what we are expecting or not. So for that I will add a verify element. So there is a verify element, and there are different types of verify expression, verify expression with operator, verify range, and so on. So we are going to use over here the verify expression with operator. So what it will do here, the first expression is our output variable, And the next expression, we are checking whether it's equal to what we are expecting is our existing variable. So that's it. So this is done. Now once it is successful, it will, if it is verified, if it fails, this test case will fail. If the verification is successful, the test case will pass. Now I will just run again. Okay, so I think this is, it was already logged in. So let me just stop, and so we'll add one step at the end which will log out after verifying, so that our test case is complete. So now since it was already logged in, it may not run successfully right now. So let me just cross verify current state. Yeah, so this is good. Let me start now. So it's launched the browser. Now it will enter the details and then click on sign in. There is some delay over here, I'm not sure why. So logged in is successful. Now validation is also done. Now since, let me just click on this. So here if you see, the test case is showing as passed. So it will show at the descriptor level also how many has passed. So all 6 passed, and overall test result over here. So now I will just making sure that this validation is working. What I will do, I will just, in the expected output, I will just mark it as some different value like test 1, so that now it should fail, because my system is having only test pin2 space test, but I am expecting test 1, so it should fail. And let me just cross verify it. So before running this, let me just make sure that it is logged out. This step I will add in the test case later on. Now just close it. Let me launch it. Yeah, so now I've started this execution. In this case, it should fail because I have modified the expected value. So now in this case it should fail. So if you see, it failed, and in the output so this test case, if you see, it failed. Now there are few things we can add on to this. So we'll click on this block, this verify block, and click on the property. So here you will see different options are there which you should be aware of it, like continue on failure. So this is required true. Why? Because there may be multiple steps in the test case. We may not want to block here. So in that case, you need to use true. Take a screenshot of failed. So right now it is false. Let me give it true. So it should take a screenshot and save it. So if the test case fails, it will take a screenshot. Take screenshot if succeeded. That is also possible, but I will not make it true. You can make it like you can keep it true also. And then there are some alternative messages or the output also. So for example, the output of this, maybe if it is true, we may need to perform some action. If it is false, we need to perform some other action. You can find based on that output result. If you want, we can save over here and branch out different scenarios from here. So in this session today, we are not going to look into those areas. So you can add different possible ways to automate it and make it more complex as per your requirement. The next step that we are going to do is we'll add one logout step so that this script can be used without any issue and in every run. But I will not add this logout within this same block. What I will do, I will add this block, the browser user application browser, and within that steps I will not add because I will make this as a unique separate. So what I will do, add a new sequence over here and add a user application browser separately. Let me just first add a block. So what I have done is I have added one sequence block, a new sequence block other than the login, and I am adding a browser here. So this will run just after that. So what in my case it should click on the logout. So what I will do, I will just use from the logged in state. So this is my logged in state. I will use this one and just add this scenario. So the browser and will add a validation. Sorry, I am not adding any validation. So you can add a check also that only click when there is when the logout option is available. But in this case, in my case, I'm not adding that, and because I'm sure this is I'm running after that login, so it will be there. So I will add a reference as my account and underneath that validate confirm. So I will just add sorry. So this what it will do, it will check, it will log out if it is now since I have not added a validation. If we are planning to add this scenario separately in between some other scenario, then we may need to add a check whether this whether we need to first check whether the login is displaying or not, logout is displaying or not. Otherwise it will throw an exception. So in our case, we are just adding after login, so it will not have any issue. And just save this one and test this out. So what I will do, let me just make it pass again, and now I will run. So we'll test this script once again. So I'm just logging in, playing the script. So now logged in is complete. The next step is the login. Since I have logout, so since I've added a separate sequence, so it's launches a new browser and then logs out. To make sure that it has successfully logged out, I will just open it manually and show you that it is now logged out. So if we see, it's now logged out. So the test is now complete, and yep, it's passed. So just to recap what we have covered so far, and so making sure that you have your UiPath Studio installed and a browser extension available. Then this, for today we used this source demo website, and our scenario was a login. We tried to, since I think the video is getting too long, so I will not cover the search, but in the next video we'll go deep dive into different other possible features, the other features that UiPath supports. In that case, we'll cover this additional scenario. And we tried to automate everything in one sequence, basically two sequences, one for login and another for logout. So this logout, let me rename it and make it logout. Okay. So this one login and then the logout. So next thing, what I will show you is that how you can reuse these scripts. So this logout and this login, so there are two sequence of test case, and right now I have not used BDD framework. You can use a BDD framework also. Nothing, the rest will remain same, only you will have multiple blocks: login, logout, given, when, then. The other things that for this UiPath automation for your test case you need to is how you can reuse this. So like we created this login and this logout, so we can convert this into a reusable block. Like I want this sequence to be marked as a workflow. So what I will do here, if you see, it is showing a extract as a workflow. Or if I want to make it complete test case as a workflow, that also I can do. Right click from here and convert to workflow. So before converting, let me create a copy of it, or let me first rename this one. Login. So what I did is I just renamed the test case to login, and I will remove logout from here and move it to a separate block. So what I will do, I will just cut from here, and there was one, mark it, paste it. So I was able to cut and paste, so that is also you can do. So from one XAML file to the other. So this logout I have moved into this test case XAML, and I will rename this one as logout. So now my login file is this one and the logout is here. So both are separate. So why I made it separate, because I will be converting them into workflow, and that workflow I can reuse it in different other test case. Like right click and convert to workflow. Just make sure that you can understand whether it's a test case or a workflow. So for the test case, the icon, if you see, it's a different. Now once I convert this to workflow, this icon will change over here. So if you see, now it moved, like it has changed to UI, and the logout is a test case logout, so it is showing this different icon. Save all. So now this is a workflow. So if you right click this, there will be different other options showing over here. One thing is here, create test case. Now this workflow can be used to create a test case. What I will do, I will use this one to create test case. Now this test case is now for me search product. Will not complete this one, just I am creating a skeleton of this. So source as none and create. So now what it has done, it created a test case, and since framework I selected the BDD, so is use this given when then. The workflow is inserted as a block over here. Let's log in the XAML file, and any other scenarios like the search options and everything we can add over here. So this is how you can use your block of test case that you have created, or the sequence of steps that you have automated into in your test cases, and convert it into a reusable block. The another feature that is there is you can convert this into a reusable library. Right now what I have done, just created a workflow which I am using within this script. Now once you convert this into a library or a package, you can use that into another project, a different project. For today I will not show you in detail, I will just give you quick options how you can do. Just click on right click and set as publishable, and once you are done, there is a publish option here. You click here. Sorry, that publishable will work only for the test case. So what I will do, set as publishable, and now publish this one. So when you publish this package, this project, it will give you the version name and other details. So this is published as a package. So far still we have not converted into a library, it's just we are packaging it. The reason for this is that you can use this test case in your XAML file, in your test manager. So once you publish this will be available, this test case will be available in your test manager. So the details of test manager we'll see in the another video. I will not go into detail over here. Just I've given you a brief what other options are available in UiPath from a test automation point of view, and you can use it. In the next video we'll try to cover all those like converting into a library, how you can publish and use in using a test manager, and also instead of taking a sample demo site, we'll try to use some other site like a CRM application or something which will be more options to validate. So if you have any queries, any questions, any suggestions, please do update through the comment section. Thank you for watching the video.